Hello and welcome to the Monday edition of News Across Nigeria. I'm Olumide Macaulay. On the program today, a series of meetings hold as the federal government, the Nigeria Labour Congress and lawmakers try to agree over the new pump price of petrol. The Anambra state government moves to check clashes between herdsmen and farmers, orders aerial surveillance of border communities. And Governor Nasir El-Rufai inaugurates 5 new boards of parastatal, passed new agencies to increase states' internally generated revenue. And we begin with moves by the federal government to avert the Wednesday, the 18th planned labor strike. A meeting is scheduled for this 3 p.m. today between labor unions and the government to try to resolve the increase in petrol prices. Earlier on Sunday, the National Vice President of the NLC warned that it will down tools if the government fails to revert the price. The Minister of State for Petroleum, Dr. Kachikwu, last Wednesday addressed the media at the presidential villa in Abuja, where he announced the new pump price regime. And staying with the increase in petrol prices story, where the Minister of State for Petroleum, Dr. Kachikwu, has told members of the House of Representatives that the federal government had no other option than to increase the price of fuel because of the diminished forex supply in the country, which forced marketers to stop importation and imposed over 90% supply on the NNPC since October 2015. Dr. Kachikwu, who was summoned by the lawmakers, says other factors which he mentioned necessitated the price hike are significant, which is the decline in the government forex exchange revenue and the renewed sabotage and pipeline vandalism in the Niger Delta. The Minister of State for Petroleum, who is still briefing lawmakers, says there is no provision for subsidy in the 2016 appropriation, and as at today, the fuel price of 86 naira 50 kobo gives an estimated subsidy claim of 13.7 naira per litre, which translates to 16.4 billion naira monthly. Therefore, they were left with no option than to liberalize the market. He says the price band has gone into effect and the market has stabilized in a matter of days in terms of product availability. The NNPC will no longer resort to Federation barrels and will endeavor to meet its obligation to pay the FAAC 100% of its entitlements from the 445,000 barrels per day in the coming months. Earlier, there was a rowdy session on the floor of the House before the minister was allowed in.
I'm standing in front of the House of Representatives chamber where federal lawmakers are meeting behind these doors to discuss the federal government's announcement of an increase in the price of fuel. Lawmakers convened earlier today for a special plenary session to discuss the recent developments in the petroleum downstream sector. Now, trouble began when a motion was moved by a federal lawmaker to admit the Minister of State for Petroleum, Dr. Kachikwu, who was invited to brief lawmakers on how and why the federal government arrived at a decision to increase fuel price. But lawmakers from the opposition PDP resisted every move to allow the Minister of State Petroleum to be admitted into the House of Reps chamber. Now, they're still in the closed-door meeting and we'll give you details as we go along. From National Assembly, Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
And on the sidelines of that story, the reactions and the consequences of the increase in the price of petrol is reverberating across the country. Take Lagos, for instance, in the southwest, where residents say they are struggling to pay their bills that have skyrocketed after the government raised fuel prices by 67%. A fall in global oil prices has hammered state income, causing dollar shortages and halting infrastructure projects, with firms laying off tens of thousands of workers.
Days after the announcement of the increase in fuel prices, commodities prices across different sectors are already witnessing a new wave of inflation, while the Labour Union Congress, which represents workers across the country, says it will resist the hike by embarking on a strike. A visibly angry Ogbuagu Donatus says the price hike came too suddenly.
I used to use like 3,000 something to fuel my car, but now it's 7,000 something. Then how do I go? And the 2 days I have run the fuel, so I'm not really happy. The salary are not increased, but everything at the market was increased.
For commercial driver Sunday Oji, even with the hike, the queues are still unending.
By now I'm supposed to be at work, but now I'm queue on queue to make sure that I buy fuel. When I buy it now, immediately finish again to get another one is problem to me. So Nigeria, please talk to the government of this country to listen to the poor people, not for the rich. We the poor, we are suffering.
Nigeria has for years set a cap on prices for fuel sold at home and paid importers the difference via subsidies. But in its 2016 budget, the cash-strapped government did not allocate any money for the subsidies. Nigeria tried to end fuel subsidies in 2012, doubling the price of gasoline overnight, but later reinstated some of the subsidy to end the wave of strikes called in protest. In a new initiative, the government will also allow fuel importers to get dollars from sources other than the central bank. The rate for importing fuel will then be reflected in the pump price.
Petrol is key to inflation. Once it goes up, every other thing will follow. So in the next few days, of course, transportation costs will go higher. Whether it's air travel, whether it's sea travel, whether it's land travel, prices will start going up. Food prices, of course, are already going up. They'll continue to go up. And prices start going up, every other thing has to follow suit. Unfortunately, I don't think salaries are going up. Doing regulation now, when you're still going to import, there is still a risk. The foreign exchange risk is still there, and it will actually affect the price of petrol.
The central bank has imposed hard currency curbs and frozen the naira rate to the dollar, which has hit investment, as foreign firms expect Nigeria to devalue the currency anyway at some point due to a slump in oil revenues. As the Monetary Policy Committee prepares to meet next week, expectations are that the committee will set a new policy direction that will mitigate the sufferings of the people.
In other news across Nigeria, the Christian Association of Nigeria, Imo State chapter, has condemned the activities of herdsmen in the southeast who are alleged to have killed people in Enugu State. The association, who led a protest at the government house, Owerri, the state capital, called on the federal government to caution the herdsmen and prevent the incessant killing of innocent people. The state deputy governor assures them that the federal government is working tirelessly to curb a recurrence as well as find a solution to the problem.
So today we decided to come and see the governor. We tell him we are not happy. Not with him, we are not happy. That who knows where we'll be next. After Enugu, we don't know where we'll be next. So they should be called together to order. And at the same time, we also agreed about the grazing. The bill they said now that is in the National Assembly. We think the cattle rearers in their various states, their state government should give them places where they can take care of their cattle, just as it is any other person, any other place.
So we cannot stand the recent attack. We condemn it, and we cannot close our eyes to it. Whatever we can to ensure that such hostile acts does not even happen again shall be done. His Excellency the Governor of Korocha has also ensured that the governors of the Southeast states and other leaders come together to chart a course, a way forward to prevent such unfortunate incidents.
We're going to take a break now, and what you just saw is what informed the focus of our next story, of the decision in which the Anambra State government has reinforced its security around the border with aerial surveillance of potential trouble spots by the police. Please stay with us.